Oh, nice bass line. Boom, boom, bada, bam. It's hump day, Matt. It's hump day Wednesday. Market Vitals, brought to you by Miss Trade and HFR from the floor. Now currently residing in the Matrix, Matt. Everything's digital. No screaming and yelling. You know, my voice has never been better. Almost 10 years removed from pit activity and screaming and yelling.
Oh, you know, it's because of all your rocking out and tendencies to, jump in on the open mics.
Va, 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 va. I've been working my scales, Matt.
La, 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 la.
Oh, it is Wednesday. It is hump day. Matt with his MGO blue rugby shirt on today. Love it.
I pulled out the rugby for you today after our rugby discussion yesterday.
Yeah, rugby. All right, Matt, quite a conversation.
But this is actually more of a Golden Domer.
You're right. You know, it is more of a Notre Dame rugby club.
It is not maize at all. It is gold. For sure.
It is Notre Dame.
Yep.
It is not hail to the victors.
Keep your enemies close.
The greatest of all time, Matt.
Yep.
Tom Brady, Michael Jordan. As far as champions are concerned,
in our lifetime,
argue with both of their accomplishments. Although we did talk a bit about what's Bill Russell's championship tally, because if we're just going by championships,
I mean, it's got to be in the teens, right?
I mean, they won a bunch, right? Back in the day. Man, I find this interesting because this argument came up on Twitter a while ago. I believe it was Jimmy the Vowels, my old. I worked with him at Chase. Now he's on CNBC. You all know Jimmy the Vowels.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Urio, and he posted it a while back. And
11 by the way. 11 times for Mr. Russell.
11.
Yep.
11. You know what, man?
Yeah, so argue with our parents, and they'd probably give you quite a lashing that either MJ or Brady is number one. But during our lifetimes, they happen to be, at least today.
All right. Well, I want to share something, Matt, and
but I probably haven't let you do that yet.
Well, you don't even have to, because we'll get to me sharing in that regard soon.
Yeah.
But this is what I wanted to share. Let's get rid of these goats. My opinion, greatest of all time, is Bob Gibson, St. Louis Cardinals pitcher. Now, I got this information.
Which is not easy for a Chicago Cub to say.
I got to tell you, John Boyce, you can follow him on Twitter, JONBOIS, SB Nation. He started just doing podcasts, but not even podcasts, little videos on YouTube. Got incredibly successful and got hired out for his expertise at pulling together data. Anyway, Bob Gibson, when you watch the episode, and please do watch the episode, I'll share it in the chat. It's like a shortage of Bobs, or the Bob. Anyway, how there's very few Bobs left in sport. Basically, though, Matt, Bob Gibson's 1968 season is so far off the charts as being the greatest athletic endeavor of all time, as far as I'm concerned, after watching the video. It's insane. Yeah. So much so, in a year of the pitchers, right, they changed the rules. They changed the rules of baseball, right? They lowered the mound 5 inches, from 15 inches to 10 inches. Neither one of these guys, Jordan or Brady, was so dominant that they said, you know what, we need to change something fundamental in the game because these two guys have changed the game. That's basically what I'm talking about here, is why he is the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, yet from that same year, the year of the pitcher, I do have a autographed Denny McClain ball. And what was his claim to fame during that same year, 1968?
No hitter in the World Series?
Oh, no. The Tigers won the World Series, so he was a world champion. But more importantly, he also had 31 wins, and he beat Bob Gibson 2 times in the World Series. So I'm going to take the
All right.
Your
All
trade.
right. But here's the graphic
At least for that year.
on the ERA.
Yeah.
There's your guy, Denny McClain, almost 2.0 ERA.
Which is unbelievable.
Which is unbelievable. And even more unbelievable is how much better you have to be 1.12. I mean, it's much harder to bring that ERA down from 1.5 to 1.12 than it is from 2.5 to wherever he ended up, 1.99 or whatever it is. Anyway, please.
It's a half. I mean, I agree. So if your measurement is ERA, but also in the National League, you didn't have you didn't have DHs. So you're betting.
So he got to face a pitcher 3 times.
You're betting, 1/9 less of a, you don't bet, you don't face the same ability that you do in the American League. So that was probably the adjustment.
You know what? I doubt that that's what it was. But I'm willing to say that again. That's why we have conversations about things, right. Matt. That's why me and you can discuss it. And I don't have to pigeonhole you and block you from Market Vitals because you have a different opinion than me.
Right.
I highly recommend that you watch it though, because it is truly, truly amazing. And the other thing I will say for sure, the things that Black athletes had to endure, it is nowhere near the same of a world that we are in now.
Yeah, you think Colin Kaepernick wouldn't even have been playing back in the 60s. He didn't have that, in my opinion, he didn't have the talent. But he sure has the voice box today. All
right, man. Listen, let's talk about the pushback. I just saw this yesterday.
How much money does Colin Kaepernick make by not playing? I mean, what an unbelievable.
Way more than he would if he's playing.
What an unbelievable career move, by the way.
Matt,
Smart
back
agent.
to have you seen this one?
What's that?
This is blocked the New York Times.
I have seen the
tweet.
I've seen the app. Yep.
So how good is it going to be for the New York Times when they lose viewership? Half the country says, whoever in that half was, that says, hey, how do I never want to see another thread from the New York Times again in my life. Well, how can I go about that? Well, I don't buy the paper, right? But now on Twitter, there's an app that automates the process to block everybody that's associated with New York Times. Yeah. I don't know. I just thought, in this age of ambiguity, the age of irony, these things are ever present, right? People pushing back on these news organizations, which are just marketing firms, as far as I'm concerned. Very little news out there. Northeast, West, and South. I think that's what news stands for, Matt.
Well, there's a lot of, to your point, there's a ton of opinion pieces that are considered, now they label as news, and that just continues to continue. I mean, it's.
I mean, here's the joke of it is, and you've seen lots of reporters leave the Washington Post and the New York Times because if they try to investigate a story and actually put together a level-headed piece of journalism with both sides being represented ethically and authentically and vigorously, like you're vigorously supposed to make the case for the side that the editorial board might not be in agreement with. It seems to me now the editorial board runs the paper.
It clearly does. And
how about this, though? Let's talk about the gamification. Now on Fox Super 6, this was the whole sports betting app, and it's just gamified, right?
Yep.
And it was by Fox. Take Terry Bradshaw's money. They've evolved now. They have this partnership with Stock Twits, right?
Yes.
And I just found this amazing. 114,000 people have joined this particular prop bet, right? And these prop bets are incredibly difficult.
They're impossible. They're totally. It's gambling. I mean, there's nothing. I looked at some of them.
So
pick the last 2 digits that the Dow will close on this day.
Right, exactly. This one was. This is only 2 of the 6 that are in this prop bet. Right? Will any stock in the S&P 500 equal to over 50% gain for the week, and the market closed 4 p.m. on Friday? Mm-hmm. All right. That was one of them, and then the other one was Airbnb earnings Tuesday, the 16th, before the bell. Will Airbnb open above or below $200 a share? And then there's 6 more ridiculous ones. Matt, on the Michigan State basketball game a couple days ago, I was actually in the 1 percentile
Wow.
on one of these things, and I had 3 out of 6 that I got.
Wow.
3 out of 6 got me into the 1%. That's how hard these.
Yeah, I've never, I've gotten like some of these, and again, even the basketball ones are impossible. I mean, I don't know.
Impossible.
I don't know
Anyway,
who's
it's
gonna-
amazing though, because we've fully gone to gamifying stock trading now.
Yeah.
And there's a giant market of people that are aware of it now with Wall Street bets and with crypto and all these things that have driven this.
Yeah, basically, all we have left is degenerate gambling stoners, bro.
You get what you pay for.
Mhm.
And this one
leads right into it.
I thought this was amazing. From the Daily Shroom, Jamaica faces marijuana shortage as farmers struggle. They're having a hard year, I guess, in Jamaica. I don't know, too much heat, not enough water. What's going on in Jamaica this year? But this is important because we talked about canopy growth yesterday, Matt. And it's incredibly important to understand that as this shit gets legalized worldwide, also, marijuana becomes a commodity, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, especially in the States, right? Right now, the way the laws work basically is you can't. So, that's an export problem for Jamaica because nobody is importing their product anymore, right? They used to, be flying down these little Cessnas and cruising them over to Miami and dropping bags into the water. Now you don't need to do that. You just go to the store and it's legal. So that's killed their market clearly. And the Jamaica ganj is no big deal, I guess, anymore because you can grow Jamaica ganj in a warehouse in Central Oregon. And that's what they're doing. So they can buy the seeds now and grow it anywhere. So to your point, it becomes an export issue. And it's really, this is where I think like the arbitrage is interesting is right now, legally, in the states that are legalized, they pretty much have to grow, right? So they're kind of a top-down method they're looking at, from cultivation, from seed all the way to, crude and oils made out of the plant. So that if you want to do business in a state like Oregon, you have to basically grow here. And you can't export it to Idaho or you can't export it to California, at least today. So this is kind of, I think it's an interesting fact because if and when they decide that, all 50 states are open and, the guy in Illinois wants to start selling, Jamaica ganj that's grown in Central Oregon, well, I guess he can do that. And that'll be a whole different,
Yeah, I mean, I for sure think that, who would have thought Jamaica was going to need to import marijuana?
Yeah, but don't you kind of see it? I mean, we're so far from this, but look at how wine has been commoditized, and every ex-athlete is in the wine business, right? Because they got money to throw at it. But it's a tough business, and like beer, there's 10,000 breweries. There's now 100,000 people making wine throughout the country, and again, you're commoditizing a product, and if you got the right sommelier or you got the right grower, and with the right hybrids and the people behind it, you might be able to do okay. But it's really going to come down to marketing at that point, I think.
All right, Matt. Back to our discussion of. I thought this interesting. I love Zero Hedge, man. This guy produces some of the best content as far as I'm concerned. I prefer watching the chart, but if anybody opens my eyes to the broader fundamental situations going on, it has been over the year in the past couple of years, Zero Hedge, and this one startling, and the other one I'm not sure if I brought it up.
Well, what's interesting about that headline, Bob, and kind of the couple things that I saw yesterday was China, with the Lunar New Year, they're out partying. I saw a bunch of videos yesterday where half were masked, half were not. They're walking around in these beautiful downtown areas celebrating the Chinese Lunar New Year, which is typically the biggest migration of humans anywhere in the country during this period. But the travel is not going on so much. They're kind of doing staycations in China in their big cities. But the celebrations are off the hook still. Couple that with the fact that the WHO said Wuhan had nothing to do with the manufactured virus, which that was the news yesterday. You get those two things coming out with that headline. I'm like, What's the truth here? Come on.
Yeah, and the other one I saw going forward, Chinese births down 15% year over year, a giant reckoning that they're going to face from several decades of one child. And by the way, the horrific
mostly male children.
Well, yeah, the horrific fact that there were tons of just brutal, the brutal hard truth of what they did to female born children.
Yes.
For a couple of decades. And anyway, let's talk price discovery. Let's jump in and let's just talk to Spoos, Matt. They've been very quiet, but both of us have a couple of key areas that we're looking at.
Yeah, for me, the only interesting
share your screen, Matt.
Yeah, the only interesting thing really that happened today, Bob, on the Spoos was we made a new 2-day low. And I'm going to start before I jump into the Spoos. I'm going to talk a little bit about Tesla, everybody's favorite, because we talked about it. Yes, we talked about it yesterday. It was hanging on this line. It was do or die at 8:45, and it finally flushed right in the open today. All it needed was the rest of the market to kind of show its hand. And with that weakness, I mean, they sold the shit out of it. It went down $45. It went from 850 down to 800. Actually tickled down here, 800, and trading right now about 813. But again, multiple channels, as I talked about just yesterday or the day before, and this thing finally broke down. And now the next level for me, obviously, we've got to test this 777 area, Bob, and from there, this thing is really heavy. I mean, again, this is a couple month chart that we're looking at right here. Very heavy. It's going to be very difficult, especially with all the news flow that Elon had with the Bitcoin, everything. Like what else? Earnings. Now you're back to the issue of car problems, and whether they're selling, whether they're coming off the line in good shape, and again, I'm still pointing to the 640 level. At some point, we're going to see this, I think, in the next few months. So now that this level has kind of breached at 845, 850, unless I can get back over it in a day or two, Bob, I don't see this momentum. It's kind of like that Chinese lunar chart that you had. The Chinese economy kind of looks the same way. It's kind of rolling over here. So I would just keep that in mind. On top of that, the Spoos, again, new 2-day low, but as we're doing this show midday, it's made a bounce back to 3,900. So what was I, down 5 or 6 for the day, Bob? But it's but I think it's interesting that we took out the 2-day low today. So that's the key point of interest. And it only took a little over a percent move, by the way, to take that compacted range and blow it out. So, what that tells me is this closing today is really important. If we close below 38.85, which is right in here, and we're above it right now, I'm pretty bearish on this market if we close below it. If we close above it, which we happen to be right now, you have to pause again and go, is it the same game? Buy the little dip. Because again, 39.28 down to 37 or 38.78, you're only talking, Bob, 50 points, which is not even 1.5%, right? So again, this market is not that wide right now, so I don't put too much into it. But there was some. Here's the thing that I will say: these two bars here, which are 10-minute bars, this 20 minutes saw the biggest volume of the day, and it was nothing but sellers. Okay. And we have not even come back into the top of that second bar, which would get you to about 39.10. So, and we're battling on this multi-day bar, as you can see, right at the pivot. So we're basically at the weak pivot right here at 3,900, hanging on. And if the second level goes, which I mentioned just a few moments ago at 38.85, and we close below that, then you got some problems ahead of you. And this market, I think, will move quickly to 38.45, Bob, which is down here. It's right in this area, which was the old high, which was the high from late January also. And you can see it. It's as clear as day. It's just showing up on the charts over and over again. So, and if that goes, you're very likely to see 38.45 and then again, possibly back to 3,800, which just gets you to the top of the value profile. That's all it is.
Man, let me share because and I always like when multiple methodologies line up. I used to call that synergy trading, like multiple time frames, multiple methodologies, all showing in the same spot. And First of all, to Tesla, again, 2 weeks ago, closed out of up momentum, but then tweet storm and everything else pulled it right back in. Again, not able to make new highs. And now again this week, flirting with closing out of up momentum. That number coming in at 835 for all of you momentum players out there. Pay attention to obviously we have 2.5 days of trading left, but 835, if on Friday it's going to close below there, you're going to probably want to make sure you got some downside protection working and or taking profits. And I love the trade setup. All things being equal, if we close here on taking a stab on the short side, because you know what your risk is. If it should respect that momentum level and reject it if this thing really has truly turned over.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is let it roll over, come back and test it, sell the test.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And then in the Spoozies, that's the weekly, but I wanted to point out the daily first. And again, that same spot, 38.85 for me is the momentum level on the daily. So you got it on the profile basis. I have it on the daily, a close out of up momentum. You got to respect it. Listen, that's all the time when we talk about trading is levels that you need to pay attention to and respect respect the price action that comes through and out of that price discovery in that area, right? Does it reject the level or does the level not hold? These are the type of things that, the if-thens that we always do in our head when we get to these important levels that we've already established.
And Bob, I'm curious, you have a profile there just for the year. What is that red line? Yep. What is that?
There at 37.98.
So for the year from January 1 until today, February 10th, the market profile point of control is 3,800, let's call it. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Magnet, Matt, what do we call those?
I call them magnets. They're either negatively pushing away or they're pulling. It has been pushing away. I think I think today was a change of character and it's going to start to pull towards that 3,800. So yes. And then that 3,800, Bob, then becomes, the push pull from that pivot, right?
Exactly. That's the nuance of trading. What is the market doing around these important levels?
Yeah.
Is it accepting it? Are you spending time inside that profile, inside that value range? Because by Stottlemyre's work now 4 decades ago, unbelievable. Yeah. 4 decades ago, you spend time inside that value range, you're more than likely going to cover a bunch of that, 80% by his work.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the grains because we touched on it yesterday after the WASDA. The WASDA has proved to be a good selling point here, Bob. And I'm looking at a 89-minute chart, looking at the last 3 months again here. Again, this is corn. Corn's got a lot of levels here. It's got one jousting level down here at the 495 area, and then the big one's down here at 422. I think, if we hold this 520 level on corn, it's still okay. If it doesn't hold that 520, it's going to go to that 490. That doesn't have a lot of time spent there with that volume, but it's decent. It's the second biggest area, right? So, but I'm just pointing out here that, these things are finally taking a break. The grains, which we talked about, they need a break. They kind of overcooked themselves. Beans, kind of the same thing. These charts are all looking similar. As long as these top levels hold, we don't need to go to the next level. But I'd love to buy 12, quite honestly. And, the lower highs here should be of concern. We're kind of pausing. We're taking a break on the grains, I believe. It's
so important for people to understand that those moves are giant dollar-wise in commodity futures contracts.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a large dollar amount being risked per contract on those type of moves. When you think about the corn, what you just said, what'd you say, 520 to 490?
Yeah.
Yeah. That 30-cent move. For
we're
several years they'll trade in a 3-cent range or
right.
A daily range, the average daily range, 3 and 4 cents. So when you're looking at those, and that's just the nature of the market where it is because of where it's come from and what it's done in the past year. You have to understand that as markets have this parabolic moves, the risk to the downside. And the profile does a great job of showing you those levels of importance. The same thing I look at standard deviation modeling. Like, don't kill the messenger when I tell you that the support is 60 cents away in a grain contract. And you're like, well, I'll be bust if I'm long and it goes 60 cents against me. Well, that's the important thing, that you understand that those are the levels that this thing's going to magnet to.
That's right. And, the wheat is right back to an area where it may hold, down here about the $6 a bushel range. So that'll be interesting to watch, just watching all of them. Again, watch the pullbacks. The deep pullbacks are welcome here, because my macro thesis and the macro charts longer term still look very bullish, Bob. So you got to take advantage.
I agree 100% on the macro-ness of it. And I want to share the wheat also from a standard deviation modeling point, and also that profile. And for me, that upward sloping weekly lower momentum level 603, and the year, actually it's from the third quarter or the fourth quarter of last year, and really where it broke out from these highs, right? And that comes in at like 605. So they've held the weekly average so far right now, 627. But if we close the week before that, I mean, you got another 25 cents or so to the longer term support level on this weekly and the fourth quarter profile coming in at that level, where there'll be an argument, Matthew. There will be an argument if we get there.
There will be. Absolutely.
All right, we lost Matt. Matt's gone dark. 0 dark 30.
Okay.
We just lost your video. Your voice is still pristine, clear, beautiful.
All right.
Let's I just want to point out one thing on the crypto side of things, and our crypto segment. Hey, he's back. He ain't back yet. Crypto After Dark, man. I saw this yesterday. Now, I again, in the world that we live in a world. Remember the old movie promos? The old movie promos, in a world.
Yes.
One man stands against all to save humanity. In a world where Elon Musk says we must own Bitcoin. This was a Reddit post, right? And I don't know if this is true. I mean, it could be some kid in his basement for all I know. But it says, I am a software developer working at R&D in Tesla, California. Over the past 72 hours, our company bought 24,701 Bitcoin, an average price of 33,000. I'm sure this kid gets fired for putting this information out, if it's true. The way we did it was buying small amounts of BTC. I imagine over multiple exchanges. I mean, there's got to be 50 different exchanges that you can get price discovery at. But for computer geeks, right, not hard to have an algo running on all of them, and buying little pieces. We did this with a bot, which we developed with Python. And again, I don't know if it's to be true. I had thought, and we had talked about this, that in order to get that amount of Bitcoin bought, they must have done some giant block trades. This showing maybe not, and I don't know. I find it interesting to delve into how the hell did they get 1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin and not just incredibly rally the market, because the news came out and then they had a bigger rally from it. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know.
And when I see that again, I'm like, the kid's fired if they know who put it out there, and everybody knows that their average is 33,000.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty much not what you want to have. And the fact of the matter is the reporting happens on a quarterly basis. So they could have started in October buying, right?
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I do know that.
Well, I got a couple of headlines I still want to touch on, because we've talked about these two things. The first is, kind of on this vaccine side of things. J&J CEO coming out saying today, not only do you need to get vaccinated today, but every year after, we need more COVID shots in case it mutates. I mean, really? I mean, it's so glaringly obvious that this was all about vaccine companies getting rich. I hate to say it, but.
Well, how do you think about that?
I've never heard of it. First of all, if it is a vaccine and you take it, it should be done. It's over. You don't need to,
Now the flu mutates, Matt. We have a nice business model. It's called an annuity. Have you ever heard of an annuity? It's and they are the best business models out there.
Yeah.
So,
the other follow up from earlier in the week, or prop bets from last week, Bob. I don't know if you saw this, but Brady actually, did you see this headline I sent yesterday? Brady actually became aware of the fact during the game that there was that prop bet for over under for a yard, right? A half a yard. So all he needed was 1 yard. He came out and said, I'll give you one funny story from our quarterback meeting last week. This Clyde Christensen, the backup or the Buccaneers quarterback coach, said, we walk in and Brady goes, hey, I got an idea. There's a half yard over under for me rushing for a half a yard in the Super Bowl. Here's what I'm saying. We all put in $1 million, and the first time they're in a 2-3 technique, I'm going to gain 6, and we're going to sit on that thing and protect it for the rest of the way, and we're going to fund our off season.
Let me ask you a question. Did they place the bet?
It does not say.
Well, it went under, right, though? Because
I don't think
kneel down is at the end, and I don't recall him rushing ever, did he?
I don't either, yeah. So,
and is that illegal to bet a prop bet if you're a professional player?
Again,
I mean, Pete Rose would say, "Hey, I only bet I never bet against myself."
And again,
I never threw a game.
Maybe he did. I'm not going to run the ball. It was a lot easier just to get 0.
Exactly. I mean, not only that, even if he got a yard, I mean, think about this. The kneel down, he could have backed up like 6 yards and knelt down for a loss of 6. Even if he gained 10, you could take 3 kneel downs and get it negative.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was one of the best prop bets out there.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought that was a fun follow-up. I'm having problems with whether or not I'm seeing you or you're seeing me. So I'm going to let you kind of guide the horse.
I think that's it, man. We can talk. You know what? Here, let me share and talk Bitcoin just for a second. Because I said, I don't like there's 2 things I do not like about and I had some of the other crosses on. Let's get to the daily. The weekly still looks fine. The daily, I do not like that doji candle yesterday, that hammer. And, I think we're going to go test this momentum level, and I would rather see how this market reacts against the momentum. And if we close out of momentum, there's a lot of places to be joining the fray if you're a long-term believer in crypto. I am not a hodler forever, right? So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the possibility. I'm going to respect that handle, that doji hammer candle from yesterday. I want to wait and see how a test of this momentum level works out. And I still believe, Matt, all assets are one. And as we, if there's weakness in the stock market, that's going to parlay into weakness in a lot of other things. So,
yeah, I mean, even a little sell off like today. I mean, look at how much Bitcoin sold off. Look at how much the grain sold off.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Matt, we've totally lost you. So let's call it a day. Thanks for joining us. Please join us at marketvitals.io. And I will see you